welcome my friends back to our project. This is what we built in the last one, and I took quite a long break, okay, almost an hour or maybe more. So what we're going to do in this next project is we are going to build this landing page, and this landing page has a pop-up and a countdown, okay, so basically at the end of the pop-up something happens, okay, or at the end of the countdown something happens and the pop-up closes, okay. So let me just show you. So I'm just going to paste a link here and I'm going to click on test pop-up. So there is this countdown from 10 and down to 0, and then it will redirect to that link that was pasted into the input field, but it's going to do that in a new tab, okay. So that's what happens here. Okay, so but in your case it doesn't have to be redirecting to a link. It can actually be anything you want to happen. So basically you want to have like a countdown, a pop-up that has a countdown, and then something happens at the end of the countdown. That happens a lot in websites, okay. So maybe like waiting for a response from the server for you to do something and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to build in this project, okay. So I would just quickly bring up my okay, so this is what we have, and I think we can minimize this, we can reduce this, and let's start. So I'll right click and open with live server. So by now you've actually seen me write code, so I think I'll just focus on being fast and focus less on talking when I'm writing the HTML and CSS. Yeah, just to speed things up a little. So let's see what we've done so far. Okay, so this looks okay. All right, so we're going to come outside of this section and we're going to create a footer tag. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to create the modal or the pop-up, okay. So it's also called a modal. So I'm just going to create that below the footer. So that's the X for to close the modal or the pop-up. And then we're going to create the progress HTML tag. It's going to have a value of 0. It's going to have a max of 10, and it's going to have an ID of p bar, that's progress bar, and it's going to have a class of progress. So that's it. And then just below it, we're going to create a paragraph with an ID of counting, and I'm just going to put 10 there. So that's all, I think. So we're good to go. We're done with the HTML, and this is what we have. So we have all of this. So the next thing is to add some styles for our CSS, and when we get to the JavaScript area, we're going to slow down and explain what we are doing. Okay, so let's do for the CSS. Okay, so I'll come here. Let's start by styling the header. But before then, let me just finish this one. But before then, I need to set the background color for the body. Okay, so I think the background color for the body was actually set to, so let me just go to the body and add some styles for the body. So I'll start by saying display of flex, and of course the flex direction. So it's actually the light blue color. If we give the height 100% of the viewport height, everything will come to the center. Okay, so I think we're done with that. So let's go ahead and add some styles for the header and the H1. And then we'll target the span. So basically for this font weight, we're going to set it to 300, and for the span we're going to set the font weight to 700. Oh, this is H2, this should be H1. Okay, yeah, so this is the effect we want to achieve, and we've just achieved that. Then let's target the header and the paragraph. So then let's enter the section and the container. So let's just add some padding of 1 rem for the form on the bottom of the form to space things out a little bit. And let's then get the form input and button, comma. So these stars are going to be common to all of them. So you see what we did there. And the last one, let's just do, so that seems fine. Okay, so we're going to add some special class for the form input. Let's give it a width of 30 rem, so it's a little bit bigger. And let's do, okay, so that seems okay as well. And then for the button, we're going to add some styles. Okay, then of course, we're going to say the color also should be white. Okay, then we're going to add a pseudo class, hover pseudo class for the button to change the background color. So I'll just get this background color straight up and paste it here, and then I'll set it to my secondary color. Oh, this should be hover. Okay, so when you put your mouse on it, you see it changes. Yeah, so that's basically what we want to do. So let's just do something for the footer. Then lastly, let's add something for the footer link. A tag. So basically, the idea is not the focus is not actually on the CSS, it's on the JavaScript. Okay, so we're done. Now what we need to do next is we need to add some styles for the pop-up, okay, or the modal. Okay, so we're just going to do that very quickly. So let's first target the modal. And the first thing we want to do is we want to set the display to none because we want to hide it. But it's not going to make sense to hide it when we are still designing it. So we're going to set the position to fixed. And we're going to say from the left, we want it to be 0 from the left and 0 from the top. We want to give it a width of 100% and same for the height. Then we can set the overflow to auto, and this is just in case your modal has, like, in a small screen there's an overflow, so it doesn't spoil the responsiveness of the site, right? So let's do background color, and we're going to use RGBA of, and I'll just say 0.5. okay, then don't forget the Z index. I'm going to set it to 1. Okay, so the modal is this dark shade on the whatever on the screen, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do now, we're going to target the modal content. That's this guy here. So I'll say dot modal content, and let's give it a background color of gray, and let's set the margin to 15% and auto. Let's do some padding of 2rem, and let's add some border. So I'm just gonna do 1px let's give it a width. I'll put the width as the first property. ouch, of 30 rem. Okay, something is definitely wrong. I feel like something is wrong. I should be already seeing some things. Okay, I'll find out. Let me just look at my HTML first. So modal hyphen content, modal hyphen content. Okay, I see. Yeah, so this is what I was expecting. Okay, so let's do a position of relative, which we are going to need in the future, and let's do text align of center and save. Okay, bam. So that's what we have. All right, so what do we do next? We are going to target the close button. So this button you see here, we're going to target it. So I would say dot close position of absolute, and from the top I'll say I want it to be 5px from the top, and from the right I want it to be 10px, so that's like 1 rem. And then I want it to have a color of, I'll say variable, and I'll use my primary color. Yeah, so we've positioned it here. Okay, right. So I added some styles for when you hover on the button, but I really don't think I want to do that now. So basically I'll just set the cursor to pointer and I'll save that, so that when you, yeah, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to stop there, and then I'm just going to style the progress. Okay, so I'll say dot progress, and I'll give it a width of 50% of its container. Okay, and I will do a height of 4 pixels and a background color. Variable and color secondary. Okay, then I will then do, so watch what I'm going to do here. I'll say dot progress, and I'll add a pseudo class, but we need a web kit for that, and I'll say progress value. So that's this one here, and I'll set the background color to same here. Okay, I think when I used the variable, I think I was having some issues with the variable, and then I chose a color. So let me just find that color. So that's DB6400. Yeah, I think that's what I used. So let me just copy that. In fact, I'll just copy all of this and I'll paste it here, right? And then I'll set the transition. This is to make the progress bar smooth, and I'll give it a width, and I'll say 1 second, and ease. So this is going to make the progress bar really like smooth, so it doesn't go break. Like, but I'll comment this out so we can see when it actually happens. So this is what we have for our progress bar. Okay, what we're going to do is, I think I want to make this, I would hide this progress bar initially. So let me modal, and I'll do this, comment it out and save. So it's gone. And then for my HTML, I'll just increase, where's my HTML by the way? I'll just increase this to maybe like 12 pixels to make everything a bit bigger, because everything is just looking small. Okay, all right, so let's do our JavaScript. We're done with this HTML, CSS, and that took us about 25 minutes. That's a lot of time. Okay, so for the JavaScript, basically let's start by creating variables as we always do. So variables and modal. So document.get elements by ID, and the ID we are looking for is the modal. Okay, so we're just going to duplicate these 3 times. Okay, and this one we're going to target the link, right? And we're going to say input. Here we're going to do btn, and we're going to target the btn as well. Then we're going to create another variable, and this time we're going to create the close variable, and it's going to be equals to document dot get, let's do by class name, and the class name we're looking for is, there's nothing stopping us from doing ID anyway. I think we can still do ID, but I think I did class name initially, so we're getting the first class name. Okay, so now let's add an event listener for the button, because everything starts when you click on the button, right? Okay, so I would say btn dot excuse me, add event listener, and of course I'm sure you already know it's a click event, and I'm going to call a function. So that function is going to be called open pop up. Okay, and then we're then going to create that function. So I would say I'll say open pop up function, and then I'm going to say function open pop up. Let's give it an e parameter, and let's just say e dot, I wonder why my code editor is not helping me out with the auto completion, helping me out, just making me suffer, right? Okay, so basically when you click on the button, let's just do console.log log, and let's get the input. So this is not in, this should be input, right? So let's get the input.value, input. Okay, and let's save. So to actually get that, we need to view the console, and let's click on the button. Oh, there's nothing there yet, so I'll just type something, and as you can see we have the value here. Okay, so everything is wired up nicely, so we can continue. I'll comment this out, and I'll then add what I want to add. So what I want is when I click on that button, right, I want the modal, right, dot style dot display to be equals to block. Okay, and I'll save. So let me do that, and boom, so you see it comes here. But of course, you know, I can't close it because I've not created a close function. So why don't we create a close function there? So I'll just copy this, right, and I'll come down here, add a comment, and say close pop-up, and then I'll paste that in. But then I'll change the function to, I'll change the function name to close pop-up, and basically I'll just say the display to none. So but there are better ways you can actually do this thing. Like you can what I want to say now, you can do it such that it adds a class list, and then in that class list you would have added an animation. So instead of just appearing, it actually slides up, maybe from top, or slides up from the side. Okay, so that's also possible. Okay, So but I'm calling the close pop-up function, but I need to add an event listener for that. So I think I can come up here and add it. So I can just say btn, sorry, close dot add event listener, and I'll just say click events, and then I'll call the close pop-up function, and I'll save. So let's see what happens. So if I click here and I click on this guy, it closes, it opens, and it closes. Okay, so but the next thing we need to do is when the user clicks, like if I click here now, if I want it such that when the user clicks on anywhere outside, it also closes. So that's what I want. So I'm going to add a function, let me add a property here. So I'll say window dot add event listener, and it's going to be, as usual, I'll click event, and basically we want to add a function. Okay, basically I can do it better, so I can just say, make it short. I'll say windows dot on click, okay, equals, and then I would say e, I'll say function. So dabbling between ES5 and ES6, it's very interesting. So I'll say function, and then I'll add an event, so that's e, okay, and then I'll open this up. So here basically I would say if, so let me just do that. So I'll say if e dot target is equals to the modal, right? What do I want to do? I want to close the pop-up. So I'll just grab this guy here and just paste that in and save. Okay, so this should do the trick. So I'll open here, it closes. I'll open here, it also closes. So we're done with the pop-up, right? So now what we need to do is when we click here, right, we want this counter to actually count down from 10 to 0, and we want this progress bar to, you know, fill up, and then at the end of the countdown we want to do something. Okay, so what do we need? We need to create a counter function, right? So I'll come here, right, I'll add a comment, and I'll say counter function. Okay, so first off we need to add some variables. Okay, so the first variable we'll add, we're going to set this number. Okay, so I would say this time I'm going to use the let, because I think I tweaked some variables later on. So I'll say let reverse counter be equals to 10, because it's actually counting down. Okay, and then I'll say let progress bar be equal to, and then I'll get document by element by id, document dot get element by id. Where's my element? Okay, so get element by id, and the id I'm looking for is actually the progress bar. Okay, so I think I will just duplicate this, and I'll just get the count id, and I'll change this to counting. Okay, so yeah, now what do we want to do? Let's create the function for the starting the countdown. So I'll say function, and I'll say start countdown. So that's a single word. And I know you probably know how to create a countdown with JavaScript, but this is kind of different. It's not the regular countdown that you do from counting down from a date to a specific date. No, this is like a different kind of countdown. So what I'll do is I'll say I'm assuming that this is a download timer. Okay, so I'll say let's download timer, right, be equals to, and then I'll do set interval. So set interval, because I want this to count down, so that's why I'm using the set interval function that will check this reverse counter every 1 second and reduce it by 1. Okay, that's what I want to do. So I'll say set interval, and I'll say function. So I can actually do yes 6. Okay, and I would say progress bar dot value is equals to 10, right, minus, and then I would open a bracket and reduce the reverse counter by 1. So minus minus reverse counter, just like we do when we create a for loop. Okay, and then I'll close this up. Okay, so basically what's happening here, I created a variable named download timer, which is this timer we have here before, let's assume that our download begins. And then I'm using the set interval method. Within that, I now called the progress bar dot value and set it to be 10 minus, and then for every time you go through this function here, we're going to reduce the reverse counter. So it's going to be 10, 9, 8, like that. Okay, so that's basically what this code does. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll add an if statement. So I'll say if, and I'll say reverse counter, reverse, why am I not getting this auto? Oh, I didn't spell it well. So rever, and I think there should be se. That's for reverse. Okay, so maybe I'll just copy it this time, and I think if I start typing it should, yeah, okay. So my code editor, so I'll say if reverse counter, right, is less than 0, actually I'll say it's less than or equal to 0, right, I want to do something. And what do I want to happen? I want to clear the interval, that's this download timer interval. So I would say clear interval, and then inside of it I'll specify the download timer function, right? But that's not the only thing I want to do. And then I'll close the pop-up, close pop-up. I'll call the function for closing the pop-up, and then I will then do something. So in this case, I want to open the link that is pasted into the input. So this input here, I want to open up the link that's pasted into it. So the way you do that is we just say window.open, right, and then we open up brackets, and in the first parameter we give it is the input dot value. Okay, I'll add a comma, and then I'm going to specify that I want it to open in a new tab, so I would say underscore blank. Okay, so that's basically it. So we're almost done. So let's come out of our if statement, and then we're going to update the counting.innerHTML. So counting.innerHTML, we're going to make it the value of the reverse timer every time this process occurs. Okay, so I would say is equals to reverse counter. Okay, so there's one more thing we need to do. We need to specify the timing for this set interval, and we're going to do it every 1 second. Okay, and then don't forget that okay, let me save that and see. So let me click on this. Okay, so we've not actually, so we're going to come here and say let reverse counter be equals to, I'll say 11, and then I'll click on this. Okay, so for some reason something is wrong, so this is time to actually see what we are doing wrong and inspect. So we don't even get any error, so it's probably something that we've done with our code. So what I'm going to do is, when I'm calling this countdown, oh, I've not called the countdown function. That's it. Okay, so basically this start countdown function, right, I need to call it when the button is clicked on. Okay, so I'll go and look for my button.add event listener and the open pop-up. So the open pop-up, after you display the open pop-up here, we'll then paste in the countdown function. Okay, and then we'll save. So let's come back here and it should work. So you see 7, 6, 5, 4, 0. Okay, so it counts down, right, but it doesn't close. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to so let's just see what we're going to do. We're going to call the close function. So, okay, so it's here, close pop-up. Let me just make sure that there's no typographical error. So maybe I will hold on this windows.open first, and I will say that if the countdown is less than or equals to 0, I'll change this to -1, right? So okay, so I need to figure out why it's not closing. So but there's something I'm going to do, right? I'm going to disable the close function on click. So let me just look for the I'll look for the event listener for the close pop-up, this one here. I'll close that. I would comment that out, and for the clicking on the other part of the screen, I'll disable that and save. Okay, so this is close pop-up, right? And function start countdown, reverse timer. If reverse timer is less than or equals to, let me just say 0, keep things simple. Clear interval, download timer, and then close pop-up. Okay, then I've gotten rid of this. Okay, then I say update the reverse counter. Okay, and save. So I can't actually see why it doesn't close this pop-up, but let's just see. So maybe I'll reduce the reverse counter to maybe like 3. Okay, so that it's easy for me to debug. So let me see if there's an error. Okay, there's an error here. So it says cannot read property, prevent default of undefined in the close pop-up. Okay, so I guess I just have to get rid of this as well. So, and I'll save, and I would do this. Okay, so it closes. All right, yeah, so we are good to go. So basically this was the problem, this line of code here. If I'm not using it, then I don't actually need the E here. So yeah, so let's go back and set our reverse counter back to 10. Okay, and let's save and see. So 9, like that. Okay, so it closes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to then do something, right? So I'm going to say I want to open the URL that is pasted inside of the input. Okay, so what do I want to paste here? I want to paste this website. So my website, I'll copy that and then I would paste it in. I can close this here. Two, 1, 0, and then it opens up, but oh, I have this pop-up blocker here, so I need to probably allow it. Okay, and if I do that one more time, it opens up. Okay, so let me just test pop-up, and it's opening up immediately. So I guess we've done something wrong again. So oh yeah, it's opening up immediately because we did not reset the counter. So forgive me, I need to reset the counter back to 10. Okay, so it starts from 10 one more time. Whoa, that's too many errors in one video, but that's basically just how, you know, coding is. You make mistakes, you find the mistake and you sort it out. Okay, all right, so everything actually works here, right? You've seen it, it works. The test pop-up, it goes back to 10 and it counts down and opens what we have in the input field. Okay, so that's the project, and then it opens up the link in the input field. But technically you can do whatever you want, right? You can fetch something from a server, you can do whatever you want in that period of time. Okay, you can display ads to your users. Okay, so you can, you know, stuff, you can do whatever you want, okay, in that period. So thank you so much for this one. Okay, I'll take a quick break and I'll be back for the next project. Okay.